mākua ki, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. Ko te tīmatanga o ngā mea katoa, me wehi ki te atua, whakahonaratia, te kīngi Māori, a kīngi tūheitia, pōtatau te wherohero, te tuawhitu. Tēnei ahau a heke e te rangi o Ngāti Wairere, e tuatu nei ki te mihi atu ki a koutou e titiro mai rā, e whakaronga mai rā, ki a hau e kōrero ana, o te āhuatanga pāna ki a tātou, i te taha wairua, taha tinana, taha hinangaro, i rā mea atu kata. E ka mutake hau i tēnei wā, e tuatu ana o hoki, tēnei wahanga. O te atu i runga hoki te rangi mahi e te aroha, i runga ana hoki tīnga o tō tātou ariki a Ukraine. Amen.
Haere mai and welcome to this Whare Tapa Rima, the five-sided home holistic learner support model film. The purpose of this film is to support educators, organisations and educational leaders to implement a holistic learner support program in their institutions. The purpose of the model is simply to optimise how much your learners learn and to accelerate how quickly they learn. Built into this model is a framework that can support you to see the whole person, the spiritual or wairoa side, the hiningaro, the intellectual and emotional side, the tinana, the physical side, the whānau, the social dimension, and the whenua, the ethnic and cultural parts of a person. We hope that you will consider implementing this framework in your institution to support all of your learners to achieve. A key objective of this film is to support equitable educational outcomes, especially in the tertiary and higher education contexts in New Zealand. We hope the guidebook and this film will help you to make a start and to make a difference in the lives of more learners in your institution every day. Whare Tapa Rima is underpinned by Mataranga Māori. It's Māori knowledge. Whare Tapa Rima is a tonga, a cultural model, a treasure that can support the holistic well-being of all learners. The whare is a special place that holds spiritual, intellectual, emotional, physical, social, ethnic and cultural history and values. Whare Tapa Rima can help educators and institutions to holistically care for their learners' well-being so these learners can achieve in their programs of study, especially when they are away from whānau or family supports. The holistic Whare Tapa Rima learner support framework is critical in making equitable outcomes in education an achievable reality. In this film, the richness and depth and meaning of the whare is only introduced. Its full richness and meaning cannot be fully understood. It takes a lifetime to understand the significance of the whare within Māori culture.
For me, the implementing of Whare Tapa Rima, the five-sided home, for me it's a journey that I make with the students and the relationship that we build with those students to carry them through either the program or through their life. The model really works for motivating students, and when it is implemented properly and the staff member that is implementing it believes in it and can articulate how it works. So the students will progress when they have that information and when they're being supported by somebody who uses this. The advantages include the learners feeling supported, the learners knowing that they are supported and they can come to you at any time to ask for support in any of those dimensions. They can come to you and ask you for that support and then receive the support that they need. Everybody has a culture, everybody brings in their culture. They don't leave that at the door when they walk in, they bring that with them. We have to acknowledge that, and by doing that and supporting them, they progress further. If you support that in a student and help them to understand where those things are available to them and help them, they begin to realise that your relationship that you have with them is more than just a surface one. You actually do care about them and do want them to succeed. To start this model off in a new organisation, I would make sure that the staff are all on board with the program, with the framework, and also to make sure that they understand how that works and how it sits together and it's not in isolation. So you don't have the 5 sides of the home separately, they're all incorporated into one and they will work together. So you look at whatever presenting problem the student has and you look at it from each of those angles to find out where the biggest gap is, and then you help fill that for them. For leaders and for organisations, I would say this is the best model that we've ever seen. It supports the students, it supports their success, their ongoing success. Even when they've left, they know that they can come back and get support where and when needed. And for learners, they love it. They love the fact that there is support there, and it's not something that is going to take away from their time in the organisation, it's going to enhance it.
It's a really interesting model that I imagine as a supportive environment in which the research takes place. It doesn't operate in isolation, each one of the sides. It's like that support around somebody for doing anything within the institution. No, it doesn't matter what it is. So it's like, it's got the policies, it's got the principles, it's got the support, it's got all of the quality management system in place, so that anything anybody does is they feel supported, they feel welcomed, they feel as if they're bigger than they are. They can achieve more than they can do. We hear a lot about motivation and what motivates people to study and achieve. And I think that if they're in a sort of linear environment, they're not supported in the same way, and achievement becomes book achievement, academic achievement in a linear fashion, rather than a more complex and supported environment. I think it's absolutely important to make sure that students can achieve to their fullest potential. In most learning environments where that support isn't there, I think students struggle, and they might be struggling not intellectually, they may be struggling with other issues in their life, and if they don't have that support, they can't achieve in the way in which they want to achieve. But I think that one way to view it means that students will not achieve their full potential. They don't feel as if they belong to the institution. They see it as a means of maybe getting a piece of paper, getting into the workforce, but it's not that whole sense of belonging and sense of achievement they get when they're part of a whānau. Every learner needs this kind of support. I think it would be really, really useful to do that, to provide that holistic support for all learners. But I can see what the objections will be in most tertiary institutions. We can't afford to do that. It's not part of our role. However, if they did, I think we'd be achieving way more potential, and we would be having people going into the workforce better equipped to do whatever they need to do. Mental health is a huge issue for tertiary students. So if you look at the usual linear model of academic learning, and you look at the ways in which students live, some of them come from other countries, they might come from rural areas in our own country, they're in a student residence or a student flat, and they're isolated. And nobody knows what's going on with them. So they're in a situation where their mental health can certainly suffer. Providing holistic support means they're getting out of that isolation. I've been an academic for many years in both Australia and New Zealand, and I think that what I've always done, even if it wasn't supported by the institution, is to provide that holistic support. It didn't have a name, it didn't have a model, but I always thought it was important to give that wider support to students. And I know that certainly when I was teaching in Australia, my classes always achieved a whole grade higher than other staff members. And I put that down to providing that extra support.
The whare, or ancestral home, was central to the life of Māori in the past, and its significance continues to this day. The significance of the whare to Māori cannot be overestimated. It is a place that holds spiritual, intellectual, emotional, physical, social, ethnic and cultural value. It is a place where the weary might rest and be restored, old scores settled, new relationships blessed, farewells made, and challenges issued. It is also a place of endless comfort, acceptance, support, and the familiar. It is these latter functions that the whare image supports educators and institutional leaders to provide for all of the tertiary learners they have the privilege to host.
Taha Wairua is the spiritual dimension. It is inclusive of all one's beliefs, values, and attitudes. It might inform, for example, a learner's willingness to ask questions and interact in a class. Such conduct may be disrespectful in their culture.
Taha Wairua might also determine whether we value and acknowledge the intellectual contributions of others by referencing materials to treating others with respect.
Taha whānau is the social dimension. It is inclusive of our whānau, or family, friends and social relationships with others, whether we connect or suffer loneliness or homesickness, for example.
Taha tinana is the physical dimension. It includes, for example, what we eat, sleeping patterns, exercise patterns, our financial or living conditions.
Taha Hininaro includes both our intellectual and emotional state. A learner may have concerns, for example, about their intellectual capacity to pass a program and become highly anxious or stressed about this.
Taha whenua is usually translated as land, but this dimension is also inclusive of one's ethnic and cultural perspectives through which we view and interpret the world. Our learning process could be impacted by introduction to information we may regard as inaccurate and untrue, for example.
The whenua dimension of ethnicity and culture could also, for example, impact our views of the status and roles of men and women and how to treat them.
At times, the impact or needs in more than one dimension may interact, presenting even more complex learner support challenges to address.
For example, a learner of a specific ethnic and cultural origin may present an assessment to others in their institution in a traditional or indigenous format and not the Western one expected. That is, they may undertake work informed by their ethnic and cultural dimension to their current tertiary colleagues, only to find it is viewed as incorrect.
For example, a learner grieving at the loss of a close family member may stop eating and sleeping and be unable to function in classes. In other words, challenges in the whānau, social and hininaro intellectual and emotional dimensions may first appear in the tinana physical dimension itself.